from scratch that depends on systems and automation and not you trading your time for money. And secondly, it doubles as a way for me to document the process of me doing that exact same thing. And I'm going to go live for 101 sessions and show the entire process along the way. So today's episode, we're talking about working. Like, how do you actually like show up and do all this work? Because if you've been following along, we've kind of like talked a lot about what's the mission, what's the audience, what's the goal, and all these things that are very much like thinking based stuff, but not really like sitting down and actually like planning it out. So today, it's how do you take all that stuff once you figure out what you're going to do? How do you take all that stuff and actually like plan it out and then show up and actually do the work? So that's really it. That's why today's essentially today's episode is called like how to work, right? And the reason I called it that is because I think that a lot of people have great ideas. Like I talk about the intent framework all the time and clarifying your ideas. But once you actually have your idea nailed down, like what do you need to do? Well, so once you have your idea nailed down and you have your project plan nailed down and you know what you're going after, then that's where the rubber really meets the road. And I think that the thing that I find funny in talking to people and trying to see how they can make progress is that usually people have two problems, right? They can come up with ideas, but they're not clear on what the outcome of those ideas are going to be. That's the first problem. And the second problem is that once they actually like clarify what those ideas are going to be, they don't know how to show up in a way that allows them to track if they're making progress towards that thing that they're trying to do. So today I'm going to kind of like cover that. Essentially what I'm doing right now, as far as now that I have everything more or less mapped out, what do I need to do to start producing actual results? So to do that, we've kind of talked about number goals as far as like knowing, having a target in mind. But I think that once you have that target in mind, there is something that are called like lead measures and lag measures. So lead measures are basically things that can tell you today if you're likely to be successful, and lag measures are things that will tell you a long time in the future if you succeeded. So a good example would be if you were trying to lose weight. A lag measure is I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months. And you will know in 3 months if you succeeded or failed. So it's a lag measure. A lead measure would be I go to the gym 3 times a week. You will know the first week if you met that goal. Now, the assumption is that usually your lead measures have to be good enough to make sure that it will get you to your goal. And that's why you have to turn any end goal that you have that is a lag measure, you have to turn that into a process based goal that gives you a lead measure that you can follow. So where I'm at now with, like I've mapped out, I know that I need to write ad copy. I know that I need to create a lead magnet. I know that I need to create the ads. I know that I need to set up automations. I know that I need to write sales copy and all these things. And most of these things are just, there is one factor that will tell if I'm making progress towards them or not, and that's time. Now, I think most solopreneurs, most creative entrepreneurs, whether you're a coder, a writer, an artist, or whatever, it's basically the amount of time that you're putting in, unless you're outsourcing all your work or something. It's the amount of time you're putting in. So, what I'm doing this time around is basically looking at it and saying, what is my 1 unit of measurement? And my 1 unit measurement is time. So that's what I'm going to be using for my lead measure. And instead of just saying like, okay, I'm going to work on my business for 4 hours a week or 8 hours or 12 hours or whatever, that really doesn't help, because I think that if you look at spending time by itself doesn't actually guarantee that you're getting results. So, but at the same time, you can't really estimate how much effort you're going to put into something in order to, you know, get the result that you're after. So it's like if you look at it, let's take creating an ad, right? At this point, at the stage that I'm at, I don't know how long it's going to take me to write good ad copy, for example. Um, I have an idea of how long it would take me to actually like create it inside of Facebook or whatever. But to actually like do the research and write the ad copy and tweak the headlines and everything else, I don't know how long that's going to take. But I do know that if I just sit here for 4 hours twiddling with that, it doesn't help either. So I'm going to put a constraint on that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a management technique called time blocking. Now, the easiest part is you can basically say something like 4 hours. I'm going to work on this thing. But a simpler way is to do it with something like something known as a Pomodoro um, method or Pomodoro technique. And that's basically like you set a timer for 25 minutes. And for that 25 minutes, if you stay focused on the specific outcome that you were after for that time block, then it counts as one Pomodoro. And if you got distracted, got interrupted, went off to do something else or anything like that, then it doesn't count as a Pomodoro. And so knowing that I'm going to set a really low goal, I'm sure I'll blow it. I'm going to blow it out of the water at some point. But I'm going to set a goal of a minimum of 6 Pomodoros a week towards the specific things that I have planned towards my business. So 6 Pomodoros towards the business. That's the lead measure. So I have to do 6 Pomodoros a week, which is actually not a lot because at 25 minutes, you're talking 25 minutes, 25 minutes, that's 50 minutes. So that's an hour. So that's 6 hours. I can do more. I can't do less. That's the key. So a lead measure is something that you can set it up so that you can do more, but you can't do less. You can be as strict as you want to do with it. But now what happens is I have a process where I can say, all right, every week that I fall short of my 6 Pomodoros towards planned action items towards my business, then, I failed. If not, then I succeeded. So that's how I'm looking at it. Most likely by next week or something like that, I'll ramp that up, but I'm really like I'm giving myself like an easy pass here. This is a T-ball. It's 3 hours of focused work, right? So essentially like this, doing these videos is not included. It has to be everything towards the initial offer that I'm creating. So that's the thing. It's like how you work is you set your goal and then you figure out what's something that you can do on a like you can repeat in order to make sure that if you like show up and do those things daily, weekly, not monthly, it has to be daily or weekly. If you can show up and do those things, then the other thing is guaranteed to happen. And then once you figure that out, then just make that thing the current thing your lead measure. And then once you do that, then you can easily track it because every week you can sit down and say, you know what, put 6 boxes on top of a whiteboard or something like that. And then every time that I do a focused one, I check it off, check it off, check it off, check it off. If I've done 6, success. If I haven't done 6, then I have to sit down and think about it. Like if I can't put 3 hours towards this thing, then maybe I need to consider doing something else. Does that make sense? So that's really it. I think that most people that are trying to like find a way into something else, they're not clear on what is the specific goal, like the lag measure, but then they don't sit down and kind of like walk it backwards to say, what is something that I'm going to be doing every day, every week, in order to make sure that if I show up and do those things, then the other thing is more or less guaranteed. So that's really the process. And as far as like how to work, that is pretty much it. I mean, if you wanted to write a book, then, figure out a word count and say, I'm going to do, I don't know, 1,000 words 3 times a week. And then you know how long it's going to take you for you to finish out your book. Or if you're going to build out an application, then, you're going to complete a feature every week. Or, any one of those things, writing a newsletter every week, any one of these things. So that's pretty much it. And I mean, like this applies to other things too. So like if you wanted to do outreach, to kind of like email people and generate partnerships. So if you wanted to like DM people and actually sell your stuff directly, whatever it is, I think that's Gary Vee talks about DMing people all the time. But it's like whatever it is, that's the action that would most likely move you towards whatever your end goal is. You got to map that out and find some kind of way to track it. And you don't got to be all overbearing and hard with yourself about it, but you got to find a way to know that what, you're moving that thing forward. Or if you're not moving that thing forward, then you have to be able to see yourself and say, hey, you know is this going in the direction that I want or not? So at this stage, I wanted to get to a point because I think I have the clarity that I need. um I'm definitely going to be going with the coding community as far as like the first test. And I need to put all that stuff together. And it's just a lot of writing, videos, ads, sales copy, email, automation, and funnels, and all of that type of stuff. The good thing is, I figured out, you know, business is more like coding. Like once you understand it, it's a lot like coding. It seems complicated from the outside, but it's like if you know which knobs to tweak and which systems and things like that, then you can pretty much kind of like iterate, and sometimes it might not perform as well as you want, but at least you know what your inputs are and your outputs are. And once you get to talking inputs and outputs and processes, you're speaking my language. And I think that going through this exercise as slow as I've been doing it and doing it in public has really helped to not only like clarify the thoughts, but I think it feels good that I hope somebody's getting some use out of this. And I hope that I'm sharing these realizations and these things that I'm finding in such a way that somebody can get, and apply these things. So, that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys are enjoying starting 101. This is episode 20. So, you know what? I'll do a little bit of celebration because I think, you know, good job JP for showing up 20 times. And we got, what do we got? 81 more to go. That's solid. So, we'll see how these things morph over time. But I think that the goal is still there of showing step by step how do you create something that's not going to be directly tied time to money, and then we'll see how it goes. I'll be really transparent here. I think it's actually comforting to see that not a lot of people watch these. And because not a lot of people watch these, I can be very honest and get over my own, like, I don't know, camera shyness or whatever. But thanks for hanging with me. And I hope that you are moving forward on your own idea, whatever it may be, whatever your goals may be. If you need help on anything, do reach out. If you do have an idea, go check out the Intent Framework course is jpadamsonline.com/intent. And I will see you on the next one. Have a great one. Follow on YouTube, Facebook, like, subscribe. Bye.